Hello everyone and welcome back to Kobe in History. In today's episode of Medieval Professions, we are gonna look at something that I guess it's not actually a profession, but it kind of fits in the series anyway. We are looking at monarchical roles, so the rulers or heads of states. There are quite a few titles that can be given to monarchs, and today we are gonna have a look through the list from the top, the most powerful one, to the bottom, the least powerful one, and we'll see what makes them different. So probably the most common question that will be answered in this video will be what is the difference between an emperor or a king. So that's where we will start, with the emperor or empress. It is the highest title a monarch can get, and they rule over an empire, which is made up of multiple nations. These nations could also have their own lower-ranking monarchs, so it was possible for an emperor to rule over a king or multiple kings. This description can also be used to describe rulers who went by different titles, such as King of Kings or High King. So that's already one thing that sets an emperor apart from a king. An emperor was also seen to have more influence and greater power compared to other contemporary monarchs like kings. The title of emperor dates back to ancient Rome, where imperator meant commander. The evolution of the position of imperator is a story for another time, but the ancient Romans didn't call their emperors by the name emperor. The emperors were given the title Caesar after the person that started Imperial Rome. This tradition of giving the title Caesar was continued in other languages. For example, in German it turned into Kaiser, and in Russian it became Tsar, which are also titles that refer to an emperor. In medieval Western Europe, the only emperor was the Holy Roman Emperor, who ruled over the Holy Roman Empire, which was comprised of a large number of smaller nations ruled by their own lower-ranking monarchs, which we will come back to later in the video. The title of Holy Roman Emperor was elected, so it technically wasn't a monarchy. However, the Archdukes of Austria were almost always elected, so it kind of functions as a monarchy anyway. In medieval Eastern Europe, there were a few more rulers who styled themselves emperor as well. You can see a list of them right here. Later on, a few more empires developed in Europe, most notably the French Empire, formed by Napoleon. There was also the British Empire, but the English monarchs did not take the title of emperor or empress, instead retaining the title of king or queen. However, they did pick up the title of Emperor or Empress of India, which referred to their rule over the Indian part of their empire as a whole, but not the complete British Empire. Today there is only one emperor left in the world, which is the Emperor of Japan. This title is a ceremonial one, as the Japanese emperors no longer have any power as ruler. The tier under Emperor and Empress is the one of King and Queen. They ruled over a kingdom, and these were common in medieval times and even still today. In most kingdoms, the king or queen was the highest head of state. For example, in the kingdoms of England, France, Spain, and so on. But as mentioned earlier, it is also possible for kings to be below an emperor. And we have an example of this as well. For example, the Kingdom of Bohemia were ruled by a king or queen. But because they were part of the Holy Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Emperor stood above them. There are currently 17 kingdoms left in the world, 15 of which have kings and 2 have queens. Now we come to the lesser well-known titles for monarchs. The next one down is the Archduke or Archduchess. They ruled over an Archduchy. It was a title that was most notably used by the Habsburg rulers of the Archduchy of Austria from 1358 onwards. They took up the title to show that they stand above the other duchies and principalities in the Holy Roman Empire. It has earlier roots though. In the Carolingian Empire of the early Middle Ages, the title of Archduke was awarded not as a distinct tier of monarch, but as a unique honorary title that was given to the Duke of Lotharingia. After Lotharingia was split up into smaller duchies in 959, the title disappeared until the Austrians reinvented it as a higher tier of monarchy. Some other nations disputed that the Austrians stood above them, however, so it was not seen as a higher tier of monarchy by everyone. Today there are no archduchies remaining in the world. We also have the Grand Duke or Grand Duchess, who ruled over a Grand Duchy. Most of these Grand Duchies originated from within the Holy Roman Empire as well. However, it was rare until the Holy Roman Empire was abolished in 1806. All the different duchies that were part of the Holy Roman Empire didn't have the emperor above them anymore then. So the duchies who had more power than the average duchy styled this grander title to show their influence. In Eastern Europe, rulers of this tier styled themselves Grand Prince or Grand Princess instead. So you might see those titles if you're looking into Eastern Europe. Today there is only one Grand Duchy left, the Grand Duchy of Luxemburg, which when you look on the map you see it's not actually that big, but it used to be bigger. Then we have princes and princesses, which can also refer to children of a higher tier monarch, like kings or queens. But in this case we are not talking about them. We are talking about the title for a ruler of a principality. These are ruled similarly to kingdoms, but they are a lot smaller in size. They rank under kings but above dukes, outside the Holy Roman Empire that is. Because these princes are not to be confused with the sovereign princes or fürsts of the Holy Roman Empire, which ranked below dukes. But we will come back to those types of principalities later in the video. Of this tier of principality, two still exist today. We have the Principality of Monaco and the Principality of Andorra. The one of Andorra is kind of strange because it has some unique rules that cause it to be a co-principality, with two co-princes as rulers, and one of these two transfers to the person who is President of France at any given time. But the reason why this is a story for another time. As mentioned earlier, in the next tier down we have a duke or a duchess. In this case referring to a monarch ruling over a duchy, as it can also be used as a title of nobility under a king. But I will make another video about that kind of duke at some point. The duchies that we're talking about today were similar to the previously mentioned grand duchies, but they were smaller. There are no duchies of this rank left today, but historically there were a lot of them. You can see some on screen right now. Most of them were part of the Holy Roman Empire. Now lastly we have the Fürst or Fürstin, which can also be translated to English as a sovereign prince or princess. These were rulers of principalities inside the Holy Roman Empire, and were ranked under duchies. Because they were so small, there were a lot of them in the Holy Roman Empire, but this is also the reason that almost all of them were eventually incorporated into bigger nations. Today, the only principality of this type that remains is the Principality of Liechtenstein. And when we look at Liechtenstein today on a map, we can see these principalities were quite small in area. Thanks for watching this video. I'm planning on doing a similar video like this one in the future, but with the different rankings of nobilities instead. And as always, you can let me know what you thought in the comments below, and on screen right now you can find a link to my medieval professions playlist if you want to see more videos like this one. Or if you're interested in history as a whole, you can also check out my channel to find a broader spectrum of historical topics.